Welcome in again, everybody, to Coach's Corner on the Auburn Undercover Podcast. I'm your host, Ronnie Sanders, and I'm joined again, as always, by former Auburn defensive coordinator Ellis Johnson. Ellis, how you doing today?
Doing pretty good. I knew you'd have to have me back on since I got all the picks right last week.
I'll tell you what, I'm not. I need to stop picking.
Two for four ain't bad if you're batting in major leagues, but picking games, I guess it's not too good. Plus, I thought Indiana would edge Alabama, but I didn't know they were going to assault them and be put in jail for it.
You know, it shocked me, honestly, that Alabama still can't run the ball. I mean, I think they had 21 or 23 yards or something like that.
Well, we were discussing the other day that sometimes it gets to a point where you just realize it's just not in their DNA. You cannot tell me, I'm not saying they've got Najee Harris and who was the Heisman winner, the kid that came from up north. I mean, we played them. Hell, they had two Heisman kids back there in the backfield in 2010 behind each other. I mean, and then the kid playing at the Ravens. I mean, they've had some headgum war daddies, and they don't have one now. But don't tell me they ain't got decent running backs. I mean, they got players, and the offensive line's, good-looking talent. Mm-hmm. So you just had to say, well, why they can't run the ball? They're not practicing it, Ronnie. I would bet they're just not putting the commitment to it. I don't see how it can be any different. There's a lot of teams like that. They want to do some formation movements. They want to make sure the quarterback can read all these different coverages, and they put 80% of the practice time in the passing game now, just like the pros do. And pros can run the football without having an inside drill every week. You can't do that in college.
Derrick Henry, that's who you're talking about.
Derrick Henry, yeah. I mean, they've had some horses, and they don't right now. But those are good players. I mean, they're just not working on it, in my opinion.
Well, and I think, and we were at Auburn in '97. We won the West, and we couldn't run the ball a lick, and we get blown out by Mississippi State, and we had an off week coming into this was Georgia, and Terry's like, he said, we can't run the ball, so. He said, we're just going to change the offense. We're going to line up in 4 and 5 wide and throw it every down. And that's what we did. We stopped trying to throw it. Stopped trying to run it.
And it's not – you got to play to your strengths. I get that. But you're not going to win. You're not going to go through the national playoffs and survive without a running game. Now, do you have to run for 200 or 150? No. But they can't run at critical times in the game. And that's where it bites you. You could have 80 yards rushing. But if they're at critical times in the game where you really need 3 yards and you get it, or you need to punch the ball in the end zone from the 2-yard line and you can do it, and I don't care if you run the ball only 20 times and you get 80 yards. Who cares? But they can't run when they need to.
At all.
And that's tremendous pressure on the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's been like 3 or 4 games in a row with no picks. And with that situation, I think that kid's a lot better than people realize he is.
Yeah, he's had if you can't run the ball, it's tough fighting for the quarterback. What about Oregon and Texas Tech? I mean, Oregon
didn't surprise me. Physically they played with Oregon, except offensive side of the ball. Their quarterback's a 1 AA player. I mean, they just couldn't protect him, and he couldn't make any plays on his own. And Oregon's got some good players on defense now. I would not. I mean, I'd give them as.
You called it last week. You said that you didn't think that Texas Tech could score enough to win the game. And you're right.
They can't. No, not on that defense.
And we had Ole Miss and Georgia, which it was a great game the first game, and then 39-34 this time. I think you got to give Ole Miss credit.
Well, I guarantee you, but Georgia looked tired to me the last 15 minutes of the game.
They did.
And I can't figure that out when they had a bye. So either they were tired or Ole Miss was just playing faster. Because just looking at it on TV, they really didn't look like they were playing fast and intense. And, of course, that's not Georgia. But that was a huge win for them. And I'd say right now, Chambliss is playing the best any quarterback in the thing. I mean, it's hard to say that kid from Indiana's not, but he doesn't have to do as many different things. Chambliss right now is really the most dynamic quarterback in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's had a phenomenal year. I mean, just and look, I mean, I think you got to give Pete Golding and the players credit. I mean, you have your head coach walk out on you, and I mean, they've not only held it together, they've got a real shot to win a national championship.
Yep, that came up yesterday morning on a podcast, and I can't remember exactly how it was asked, but they wanted to evaluate Pete Golding. I said, well, first of all, you can't evaluate somebody on 2 games. That's too small of a sample. So we don't know. But I said that what he's done handling the chaos around that team the last 2 weeks and winning those 2 football games and also just keeping that whole thing going in the right direction, you gotta give him kudos. I mean, he has done a heck of a job.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's going to end up, I don't think we know, but I mean, that's a tremendous amount of juggling going on with off the field crap and whatever Lane's doing to, stick his finger in the thing every now and then. And you just read between the lines, Ronnie. There's too many comments coming from some of those players.
Yep.
About it's a little bit of interfering and tampering, and he ain't been straight up on everything. The team meeting where he claims that they wanted him to coach the team and asked the AD to do it, there were players who refuted that and said that's not the way that went. So he wanted to be on ESPN in the booth while the game's going on. For what? To take away all their limelight or whatever. I don't know. But the quicker that all is flushed out, the better off they're going to be at Ole Miss.
Yeah, I mean, Kiffin needs to go sit down in the corner somewhere and just be quiet. I mean, he, everything that he said since even before he left. I mean, it's the same guy. I mean, it's the same guy as he was 20 years ago. I mean, he is who he is.
That's right. And then just when you put that personality into this particular situation, though, I mean, it just needs to stop. You got your job. You got where you want to go. Go on down there and do your job. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that you can't take a little credit for how they're finishing, but you're not in charge and you're not doing anything day to day that's helping that team. And you've already done enough, whether you're entitled to or not. You've done enough in your actions to hurt the team.
Yep.
Just leave it alone. Go do your job.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. He needs to kind of take a step back and, and LSU's agreed to pay his bonuses if they win. But I think he needs to go step back. What about Miami and Ohio State?
That one, I thought that was going to be a heck of a game. Now, I thought Ohio State would win it because I just thought up front they would eventually, kind of insert themselves. But Miami's better. I'm just still scratching my head. How in the heck they lost 2 ACC games to 2 just decent opponents? SMU and Louisville had decent seasons. Was it Louisville or Pitt?
Louisville.
Yeah, Louisville and SMU had decent seasons this year. They both got into a bowl game, but they each lost about 4 or 5 games. I mean, I don't know what happened to them. I don't know if they had injuries in the middle of the year, or I know Beck sort of got off the rails a little bit. He wasn't nearly as accurate. He was having some turnovers, more sacks, and he wasn't playing well for a little stretch there. But they just amazed me now that they're not just hanging in the playoffs. They're physical, and their defensive front and their running game on the other side of the ball, I mean, they've got what they need to keep going and make it all the way. Beck is playing a little bit better now. He doesn't throw deep vertical balls very much. And I didn't notice that, but I mean, if you go back and look, he's throwing a lot of intermediate stuff, and he's throwing it, the RPOs out on the edge and slants and all that kind of thing. It's going to remain to be seen if he can throw the ball downfield a little bit and get some more pressure off that running game. So I would say right now he's a little bit of the question mark of how far they can go, but they're right there in it. I mean, it's amazing. All 4 teams coached by head coaches who work for Saban.
That's what I was about. I was waiting to get
all 4 teams ain't been close to a national championship in a decade or more, other than Oregon getting beat by Auburn. And they ain't ever been there other than that one time. Ole Miss was claiming national championships from the 60s when some newspaper voted them in. And Indiana didn't know they had a football team 2 years ago.
I think what
Miami it's been so long since Miami's been there. So, it's all four of these teams. It's just they're not the current blue bloods that everybody thought would get in there. And it's pretty unusual. And then the last thing, all four of them have transfer quarterback.
Yeah. I didn't realize that. Till you said the transfer, you're right. 100%.
Yep.
That's interesting. I was about to say the Saban assistant thing. How do you see the Oregon, Indiana playing out?
I'm kind of pulling for Indiana to make this thing all the way through. And so I'm sitting here pulling for them and everything. But I think Oregon's got a better football team. Talent-wise, there ain't no question. They got all these 4 stars, 5 stars, and portal guys and all that kind of thing. There's just 2 matchups now. I don't know. I don't know which way to pick it. I do think whoever wins that Oregon, Indiana is going to win the national championship. I do think that. But, I mean, it could be Indiana over Miami or Oregon over Ole Miss or whatever. After last week, I'm kind of worried. I'm kind of scared to stick my neck out and make a pick.
I am too. I think it's going to be a great finish. I'm picking Oregon, but I'm not real confident in it. And that's
I still don't know if that Alabama-Indiana game was Alabama or Indiana. I know they're good. They've played really well this year. They've had some good wins on the road too. But Alabama can't run the football, and we thought if they found the running game, they could win that game. I mean, they got just crushed. I mean, it just, and I just don't think Oregon has a running game, and they have a good mobile defense. I think they probably can give a lot of pressure on Mendoza. But we'll see if Indiana can run that football the way they did last week. I think they win.
It's my family, and what you've lived in this state. So, everybody that I shouldn't. I'll leave it at that. I grew up here. You lived here. There are a lot of people in this state who swear that Kalen DeBoer can't coach. In fact, I got a text from my mom yesterday, and she says, "Did he get an extension?" I said, "Well, not yet." And she said, "Well, I wonder why." I said, "Well, I'm sure he will. He did win 10 games, and they're not going to let it. They're not going to unless he wins a national championship, and soon it's going to be Franchione, and it's going to be the Bill Curry and roll them in, roll them out."
The interesting thing is going to be the AD, Greg. DeBoer's not there because he made him hire him. He was offered a job, and he's proven he can coach. Mm-hmm. He's proven over about 20 years he can coach, but it's just not enough there. I mean, I've been there twice, and I understand what it's like, but he's probably not used to winning 10 games and being chastised, and you don't know what's going on to his family. Mm-hmm. I mean, when your kids I didn't have kids when I was coaching there. I didn't have to put up with it. Some of them, there's some stuff goes on at school with parents, teachers, not just their student friends. Teachers will make a little smart ass remark sometimes. It's crazy. And then some people just don't want to put up with it,
Well, it's kind of like Chip Kelly. He was offered the Florida job and offered UCLA. You go to Florida, everybody knows who you are. They want the picture made with you. They want your autograph. They want this. They want that. You go to UCLA and nobody cares.
Right. Well, that's I don't know if this is true. Probably shouldn't be on here just throwing things out. But I was told that one reason Pete left was his kids were just tired of the stuff going on at school.
I mean, I could see it. I mean, it's a different animal. I mean, my kids, we've been here 5 years, and they've kind of settled in now, and they've kind of embraced it now. I mean, they're just like, well, it's where we live. I mean, it's what it is. It is what it is. Mm-hmm. I could tell some stories about my 16-year-old, but I'll refrain from telling that on the air.
Well, now your kids, Alabama or Auburn?
They're all Auburn. They all want to go to Auburn. But we'll see. It's the admission standards have changed since I was in school there. I probably couldn't get in now.
Auburn?
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. My daughter, we had moved to South Carolina, and I wanted her to stay in the state. I didn't care where she went because I'm tired of all the money. Anyhow, she applied to about 5 different places, Auburn being one of them. I think Alabama. I don't know. No, I don't think it was Alabama. Clemson. I don't know what else it is. She gets in Auburn, and she hadn't heard from Clemson. So I called a couple of people I used to work with, and some of them actually had moved over toward the administrative building and not in the athletic department anymore. And they started snooping. And finally, like 2 or 3 weeks later, one of them said, she's going to get in, but you're not going to hear anything for 2 or 3 more weeks. I said, what's going on? They said, it's just that much different. And they've really exploded in their enrollment the last 20 years, but they still can't accommodate the applications they get. So their admissions process, man, it is hard.
It
So
is.
she's waiting on Clemson. She's waiting on Clemson. Finally, we get they said the way she'll get it, I think, is either email or text or something. And she finds out she can get it in Clemson. And so she wants to go up there and see it. Well, it's COVID. I said, well, I'll take you and what's her name up there and I'll give you all the best tour I can.
Right.
But there's nobody there that'll take you around campus. We get back, and about 2 days later, she said, Dad, I'm going to Auburn. And I was like, I mean, I looked it up real quick. It went from 10 grand a year to about 35 grand a year.
Yep.
I said, what's the heck wrong with Clemson? She said, well, all my friends are going there. I don't want to go there. I mean, like some little 14-year-old. And I think, golly.
Yeah.
She was very happy, had a great time, met some wonderful, friends and everything there, got a good degree. And so very few times did she have a bad experience at Auburn. And I mean, there was hardly anything ever came up that was negative or, whatever.
It's pretty amazing how things have changed. I mean, it's been a while since you've lived here, but I mean, it's a different environment. I mean, the admission rate at Auburn is less than half of that at Alabama.
Yeah,
it's extremely difficult. Like I say, I don't think I probably couldn't get in now. So I tell the kids, I'm like, they've got a program here at the high school where if you get in and you can take certain classes and be eligible, or you can be guaranteed admission if you take certain classes and you're on a track to be admitted to Auburn. But I told them, I said, you got to, if you're going, you better get in it, because otherwise you won't be able to get in.
Yeah, that's amazing. What high school? Where are you exactly? You're in Birmingham, aren't you?
We're in Hoover.
Hoover.
Yeah. Well, Auburn got a commitment this morning from Byron Brown, the transfer from USF. How important is that going into first season? I think Golish, after missing on keeping several players, he said, okay, look, I'm going to go and get the best guys I can get, but more than that, I'm going to get the best guys I can get that can help me now, that know my system, that know what I'm looking for. And it reminds me a little bit of Signetti. I mean, I think he brought 13 players, something like that, from maybe 12 or 13 players from JMU. And I think Golish is trying to, do a little bit of the same thing and set his culture.
Well, you see it a lot. Like even the guy, Charles Huff, left Southern Miss, took a bunch of them out of there with him, and he took a bunch down there when he went. And so they were there about 1 year. But, I mean, it's just everywhere. But I think it's smart. And I think, and the kid played well. They had a great season this year. And they were prolific on offense. And he knows system. And with all the chaos and turmoil and just transitioning into a job to start with, you've been through it. I've been through it. I mean, you got new coaches, new coordinators, new schemes, new this, new that. But for a head coach to come in and bring the quarterback that he'd had in that system, I'm assuming he's bringing somebody that was coordinating or whatever. That, to me, takes a whole lot off of the transition, the pressure to get things done and get on track quick enough. And nobody has any time anymore, Ronnie. So, I mean, you better have it running pretty smoothly in 2 seasons. And if it's not running at all smooth the first season, it's hard to keep it from affecting the next season and the next season. Yep. It's just this whole thing of building a program over 4 years. I mean, there's no taste for it anymore in college. they talk about building a culture in the locker room. You got to demand what you want and not put up with stuff. But as far as building a culture where the players just take it over, it's really becoming a rare thing.
Well, it really is not. We talk about we're on an Auburn show, but I mean, if you look, Doug Barfield lasted what, 5 or 6 years. Dye was there 12. Terry was there 6. Tuberville was there 10. Chiswick was there 4. Malzahn was 8 or 9, and the last 2. Harsin was at Auburn a year and a half, and Freeze lasted 2.5. So you've had 3 coaches at Auburn in the last 4 years. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a it's a tough deal. I mean, it is what it is. But
and when you say that, they're really 5 because they had to do interims on 2 of them.
Yep.
And that you say, well, they had to finish the season. Yeah, but recruiting's on hold. Everything's suspended when you got an interim coach, unless he's committed. We're going to hire you. It's just it's hard, man. And as I told you before, I was talking to another friend who's up in North Carolina now off the field, and he's coached for like 30 years. And he was just talking about how much different it was now and all that. Any of my coaching friends I talk to, they just tell you things that are going on. I'm like, wow. And I know some of it, but to hear some of the exact things that are going on, you just think, how in the hell do they get through the day? I mean,
I hear stories every day. And I mean, it's at some point, there's going to have to be some kind of regulation where these kids can't come in. If you've got and I'll keep saying this, and I believe it. If you bring in a locker room full of transfers and you got 30, 40, 50 different guys every year, like they're doing in Colorado, your culture is going to be screwed up. I mean, you've got to have some high school kids. If you're going to take 5 or 6 guys out of the portal, that's one thing. If you're going to take 50, I think that's a completely different animal.
Yep. And there's some having to do it. I really think the hardest thing would be not the X's and O's, because kids getting more, I guess, more X's and O's in high school at these levels and so forth. Anyhow, I don't think that'd be the hardest part. The hardest part is trying to bring them together, if you will. Mm-hmm. Because I say what you will, after kids have played together 2 or 3 years, there are bonds and things that are developed that make a difference. Some on the field, but a lot of it off the field.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just think if you bring a kid in that's transferred 4 or 5 times, I'm not sure he has any. Most of those kids have no interest in getting a degree if they've transferred 4 times.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not what they're there for. And at some point, you are a student athlete, or you're supposed to be anyway, unless it's just a minor league pro team that we're just feeding the NFL now.
Well, that's the other shame. I don't have any firsthand empirical knowledge, but you can't tell me they're taking legitimate courses, getting legitimate education and degree. They're manufacturing this stuff, mm-hmm. And it's whatever we can do to be performative and make it look right, and make sure the kids being treated right, and make sure we can get them in, make sure they can get on the field and play. I mean, it's our higher education institutions in many ways. It's just daycare on steroids.
Well, I mean, again, if and it was a little bit like that when you and I were in it, but you go get a JUCO kid, and you do what you can do to get his test, or do whatever. But
yeah, but once you got there, you spent $1 million on tutors and stuff, right. But you weren't just manufacturing degrees.
That's right.
And I mean, there was some things that went on, but it wasn't wholesale doctoring transcripts so they could transfer in.
If a kid transferred 3 times,
don't tell me that's not going on now.
No, if we had a kid that transferred 3 times, you weren't going to get him in. You certainly weren't going to graduate him.
Right.
I mean, and now you got kids transferring 3 and 4 times. I mean, I remember an AD that, the AD, that he walks by me one day and he says, all the kids were getting PE degrees. And he said, do you think that we're doing these kids a disservice by just letting them all get PE degrees? And I said, well, yes, I do. On one hand, I said, but on the other hand, a lot of these kids wouldn't be getting any degree at all if they didn't get PE degrees. And that's one side of it. The other side of it is at least those kids got degrees. And if you've got a degree, you can go get some kind of job. I mean, I got a degree in political science, but I'm certainly not working in political science.
I agree 100%. And you know, a lot of people not working the field that they get their degree in, but it needs to be a legit degree.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you get a PE degree and it's legit work and you got a PE degree, that's one thing. If they've got a certain course of major somewhere on the campus and you got the head of the department and about 6 professors in on it, and they'll run them through there and get them a degree, then that's, you know, and I'm just not going to, I'm not going to believe it's not going on. You can't have kids running around different places as often. You got some schools don't even offer the same majors. And that's not even a consideration in most of these cases when they transfer.
And I guess that's my question, because you had to have, you know, we had to make sure, okay, this class is gonna the school can take it. You know, if I signed a kid from California when we were at Southern Miss, almost none of those from junior college, none of those classes transferred. Not all of them. I mean, but almost none of them. If you took a kid from Kansas or you took a kid from Mississippi, excuse me, then you could it was a lot easier to get a kid in. Excuse me. But from California, the kids had a hard time. I just don't know how you have a kid that's transferred 3 or 4 times. And I mean, how can you learn what campus? I mean, what do you do when you go back to you know, reunite with your teammates? You go to 5 different places. I mean, what? I mean,
they don't go back, and they don't. A lot of them didn't come back anyhow, but they don't go back because they don't have built any kind of connections or anything that mean anything to them, so they don't care about going back.
It's really kind of sad. I mean, I remember, you know, my college days. I just, you know, the friends you make and the relationships that you build, and the, you know, being around the program and being around the players and being around the coaches, and, you know, being in the locker room and on it, being in the building, and being with those people for 4 or 5 years.
Well, I'll put it this way. You know, people ask me, you know, what do you miss? Don't you miss coach? And I'm like, yeah, man, I miss it every day. And well, you ought to get back in it. I said, those days are over. I've said, you know, it's one thing to you could go out there and coach 2 days, but you don't coach for 6 months in a row. I mean, it is physically taxing and all that. So, don't you miss it? I said, yeah, I miss it. And they said, what do you miss the most? I said, relationships.
That's it.
Both my peers and the players. And that's the one thing I'd rather have back, to be able to have that every day, going in and out, and, you know, just being around people. And that you really will miss it. It ain't the money. It's not the X's and O's and the championships. I mean, all that was fun and rewarding. But if you ask me, what do you miss the most every day about it? It's the relationships. And so even, I mean, it sounds corny, but I'm telling you, these kids, it's damaging to the kids that are coming through right now. And they'll find out too late that it's really taken a huge part of their life away from them. It could have been a special, special time.
Well, those 4 years or 5 years, whatever you end up saying, you know, those ought to be some of the best years of your life. You ought to be able to, you know, meet lifelong friends and go out and, hey, you know, a lot of that's go out and you go to the damn bar and you figure out, you know, you know, or whatever. But you're building a peer group, and you're building guys that you're going to be friends with for the rest of your life. And, you know, I'm just not sure you get a real college experience by playing at 4 different schools. I'm not, you know, and then what happens when you transferred 3 or 4 times, and then, well, I don't have a degree. What am I going to do now? I mean,
we could all come up with 2 or 3 things that could slow down this mass transferring, but all of it would probably get beat in court. But if you had something as simple as, once you pick a school and you accept scholarship and/or NIL money, unless that coach leaves, you're not leaving for 2 years. Okay. And you say you only get 1 time without a sit out. Because that's what, you know, we've always had transfers back even when I played. But you couldn't play immediately unless you were dropping down a level.
Right.
Remember that? You had to sit a year. Now, if you got to sit a year, the team you're trying to go to play for, that thing, we're going to give a scholarship, and this dude's not going to sit on the sideline for a year. We don't have a scholarship like that to waste right now. Now, if he was good enough, you'd sit him. But it would stop a lot of it, Ronnie. And you'd say, well, that's what they ought to do. Probably if you take it to court, it's going to get knocked out. You know, you can't do that. You're restricting this kid's right to an education. You're restricting his right to make a decision, yada, yada. And the other thing I'll say about all this, the players didn't start this.
That's right.
Coaches did. And back 15 years ago, before the thing was unleashed, the portal and NIL, coaches were leaving for better contracts. You know, they were taking better jobs. They were telling kids, "I'm gonna be here," and they left for better opportunities. So there's not a lot of places to point the finger. And I know the coaches are some of the most frustrated with it right now. But if we're honest and we look in the mirror, we were doing it a long time before the players started doing it.
How many times do you remember a coach telling a kid, "I'm going to be here, I'm going to be here," and then you get to signing day, and and he leaves the next day, and the kid signed. Kid's there, he signed.
Yep.
The coach just left, but the coach that recruited him just left. I mean,
I had a situation. I'm not going to say the schools, but I was at a school and recruiting, and head coach got an opportunity before the signing date. And the head coach I was working for played for the head coach that had offered me a job, and they discussed it. And he said, "If I need to keep him here through signing date, and then he can come." And they said, "Okay." And I literally recruited a kid that, you know, and I had not recruited him much at all, but he sent me to sign him, and I signed him. And then 2 days later, I was packing my car and headed to the other place. And it always bothered me. We're good friends right now. You know him too. You know exactly who it is if I told you where it was. But I knew when I was signing that kid, I wasn't going to be there. And I would be the position coach when he got there. And it was a strange situation. Somebody pulled a scholarship on him late, and we got him without him hardly recruiting him. And we're very fortunate to get him. So one of those situations. But I didn't have a relationship with him, but it still bothered me. You know, it really did. But I understood, you know, the agreement between the two coaches.
I mean, that's you know, unfortunately, that's the world we live in now. I mean, now the players are doing it. Like you said, though, I mean, we started it. So.
Absolutely.
Well, it's good to be with you again today.
Yep, enjoyed it. I got all my picks in, but I got them in pencil again like last week. But I think it's going to be a good week. I mean, last week, you know, it almost turned out to be a disappointment what happened with Alabama that first game, that Friday game. I mean, but I think this last semifinals has a chance to really be good football games. So we'll keep our fingers crossed and see.
Yeah, I'm excited. It should be a fun couple of days to watch. But for those who tuned in, click like and subscribe below. It really helps us out, and we'll see you again next week.